This beat crazy.
And now, a three-time sports editor, former online and managing editor, and host of Talk That Talk, award-winning journalist Terrell Chatterbox Emerson.
Welcome to it. Welcome to it. It is 3:00 on a Monday afternoon, so you guys know what time it is. It is time for Talk That Talk. I am your host, Terrell Chatterbox Emerson. It's been a couple of weeks in the making, but I'm not in the studio alone today. I have a good friend in the studio with me. At some point in the show, I'm going to just hand it over. My guy, Alex Wright of the Las Vegas Review-Journal, and of course, UNLV alum. What's going on with you, brother?
Not much. It's good to be back. It's been a little while, little too long, but hey, it's a busy last couple of weeks on my end as we finished up the high school sports season and excited for a little summer break.
How long of a break are you gonna get? Because first of all, it's not gonna really be a break because you'll have sporadic stories every now and again.
Yeah.
I'll see you at random Aces games as well.
Yeah.
Shout out to Cali Finn.
Mhm.
So I'm sure I'll see you at some point. But how long is this quote unquote break?
It's a good question. We have to pick our all Southern Nevada teams for all the spring sports. We have our the end of the year features, boys player of the year, coach, game of the year, all that stuff to do. And I'll have a couple of down weeks before we kind of get going with football before right first week of August or so. And like you said, I'm sure we'll bump into each other at summer league too. I know that's a something I always like going out to and doing. But yeah, we'll have at least 3, 4 kind of down weeks before it gets picking back up.
Those are good to have, right? Those
Yeah.
little down moments, right? And again, guys, we're getting ready to start our Monday show. We have, as Alex kind of just said, we have a lot to get to. Really quick, we don't have UNLV basketball on the schedule. Somebody asked me recently how many wins did I have for this year's men's basketball team. Can I ask you the same question, or do you want to know my answer first?
I want to know your answer first.
I'm looking at a strong 18.
Okay.
And if this team goes 18 and 13, 14, something around that way, I don't see 20 wins necessarily. I'm trying to figure out if the 18 wins is a good thing or a bad thing.
It's a good question. That was kind of my first thought, is that 18 to 20 range. I don't know who's all on the schedule. I know they go to Memphis. That's one of the games. I can't remember off the top of my head if there's any other games. Are they playing in that players era tournament where it's a bunch? The teams get a bunch of NIL of money if they win.
Oh yeah.
With a lot
What is
of
it called?
it's like the players era tournament or something.
That makes sense, but yeah, you got me.
They because I remember they pulled out of the Maui tournament and they're getting into this tournament. I think, and I'm pretty sure it's a lot of big power conference schools in that game. So in that tournament, that's going to be here in Vegas in November around the Thanksgiving holidays. So we'll see how the rest of the schedule looks. I'm pretty sure the Mount West might be a little kind of maybe the same as it was this year, maybe just a touch down compared to a couple of years ago when 6 teams got in. expect San Diego State to be strong again with a lot of young guys that were young last year that are going to have a year of experience. Always, you can't count out Boise, can't count out Utah State. What's Reno going to do? Are they going to bounce back after kind of a disappointing year? What does New Mexico look like? Um, there's no, even though the teams might not be as good, there's not a lot of off days or so in the Mountain West where I would expect most of their wins are gonna could come from, and we got to see how this group gels, what their identity is, and how they react to Coach Pastner and everything that's new there.
And I'm happy that you said that because I wanted to get your opinion on that early.
Mhm.
Because we have a lot to get to.
Mhm.
We have a grip to get to. We actually talked a little bit about the rundown prior to the show. You close out hour one.
Okay.
So you're closing out hour one. Again, guys, this is episode 31 of season 7 of the Talk That Talk radio show, episode 357 in totality here in Las Vegas. Again, this show is being shot from the studio here at the Harry Reid Research and Technology Park here on Sunset, here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Again, guys, I'm looking around at these cameras. I'm actually doing the switches live, actually, on YouTube. If you guys would like to watch our live shows, all you have to do is go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. Once again, go to YouTube, go to the search bar, type in Talk That Talk radio show. I'm actually doing it as we speak on my phone, and it popped right up. So if you guys would like to watch any of our live shows, you guys can do that there. It's pretty much the same across every platform: Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. The one thing that will be different is our Twitter. Our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Once again, guys, our Twitter is at Talk That Talk LV. Alex, let's get to it, brother. We have a new season of Aces basketball. Didn't start the way that they wanted. Over on the other side of the country. Ended up in a 14-point blowout loss. Game 1 against New York in New York. Bannered. I'm gonna be honest. We're gonna talk baseball, a lot of baseball, right? And that's something that we both cover. And because of that, I know that you and I both differentiate a little bit more than most. Last night, yesterday afternoon, whatever the case may be, or Monday afternoon, whatever the case may be, because we get day games. Everybody keeps saying that's a ring night. It's whatever the case may be. It's a banner night. That was opening day for them. And the Liberty looked every bit of it. They looked like they were spry. They looked like this was everything they wanted. Even in the quarter that the Aces won, in terms of the third quarter, I'm sure you watched the game. I was kind of sitting there like, it doesn't really feel like any of this game has gone the Aces' way.
No, not at all. And then I was keeping track on my phone because I was at the high school baseball state tournament, and the championship game was at the same time as that. But I was keeping up on my phone and keeping up with Callie's and her updates, and it just kind of looked like we talked a lot about this with WNBA teams, and especially the Liberty, just that mental state of being the hungrier team, so to say. We've talked a lot about that with the mindset of the Aces, and how Asia talked about last year. The vibes were a little bit off, not compared to the other championship teams. So you had to expect that the Liberty were going to go all out on opening day, and even when I don't think Sabrina Ionescu necessarily had a big game per se, but everyone else was playing well and just kind of feeding off that energy, and then they were able to flip the switch of, we just celebrate that championship. Now it's time to repeat, because now, as you saw with the Aces, everyone's coming out after the Liberty, and the Aces, definitely, you don't want to overreact to one game, but they definitely, from reading about it and seeing some of the stats and some of the highlights, they definitely did not look like to be in necessarily New York's that tier of a championship contending team.
So here's where my words can either haunt me or they can hoist me. I said that game 1, that season opener, was going to tell the story of the season. Either the Aces, hey, this is where the revenge tour starts, or in terms of New York, that wasn't just a 1-year offset type of situation. There's a changing of the guard. That window that you guys thought you had is a lot tighter than you thought.
Yeah, especially looking at how the Aces played and just seeing some of the numbers where Asia Wilson essentially was kind of carried the team in that game. I think
Indeed.
if I had that right, if the numbers remember the numbers right, she had 11 made field goals, and then Jackie Young, Chelsea Gray, Jewel Lloyd combined to make 11 field goals.
You want a better stat for the first half?
Yeah.
So and now as soon as I said it, my mind is like, numbers everywhere. All right, but they had 10 minutes, 10 first half minutes, or excuse me, not 10 first half minutes. They had 8 first half field goals without Asia on the floor. 0 points, 0 makes.
Mm.
And when they said it during like the halftime, what's the call? I was like, no. And I kind of looked around at some stuff. And again, when you're looking at some of these other numbers, and you look at some of these other field goal percentages, Asia didn't spend too much time on the bench anyway. I mean, Becky talked about how small and limited the roster was considering the front court issues heading into the season opener. We can get to specifics if you want to. I didn't have this in order, but you mentioned Asia already. 100th double-double in her career, right? 6th player in league history to do that. This team was still outscored in the paint 56-32.
Yeah, and that kind of goes into the struggles that the other, 3 of the Aces new core 4 kind of had. I think I saw that or heard that they struggled with points in the paint, and I think Chelsea Gray struggled in the mid range too. So that's just well, that again, that probably just speaks to New York and their dominance inside with John Cole Jones and Brianna Stewart and that team. But that's going to be a problem for the Ace if they're not getting any really efficient points in the paint or good looks inside with their guards, and if they're not beating defenders off the dribble or anything like that. Um, Especially with getting Jewel Lloyd in there and Chelsea Gray and dealing with her injury and trying to bounce back, and I think Jackie Young had a little dealing with something last year too.
Mhm.
So if they're not efficient or explosive or capitalizing on these higher efficient shots, it's going to be the Aces are going to be in a lot of close games, when they're playing some of these other championship contenders like the Lynx or New York
Nobody's talked about that yet, but I seen what I saw in game 1, and I'm sure you thought exactly what I thought. I said, so what's Minnesota gonna do to this group? And again, like I said before, I kind of said it before. I do think the revenge tour is this season, right? Here's what I also mentioned, right? And again, my words are either going to, in this particular case, either hoist me or haunt me. I said, hey, for all of Vegas, Kelsey Plum is going to go to LA and spaz almost immediately. I actually might have made the joke that she might go for 40 in the season opener. Didn't quite touch 40, right? But still the most in league history with 37. We kind of know what KP is. I said, don't be shocked and don't be surprised if Jewel Lloyd has the exact opposite start. Jewel Lloyd is trying to figure out how to get hers in this offense with somebody that she's already admitted is the best player in the world in terms of Asia Wilson. I got to figure out how to get mine. I watched, obviously, like most of us did, watching that debut for Jewel. I said, this is exactly what I anticipated.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of maybe assume that, as you mentioned, with Asia Wilson and being so dominant, that you would want to get her the ball and just let a lot of things run through her. That's going to be a big thing with this team where the past couple of years, like with Kelsey Plum, it took her a few years, but then she found her shot and her role and how she could be efficient in on the team. Same thing with Jack Young, with those players that were drafted by the Aces and had a couple years to develop and grow. And so now it's going to be, how does Jewel Lloyd find her shot? How does she get back to being a good 3-point shooter, finding that while letting Asia do her thing, and Jackie Young and Chelsea Gray, and before Asia Wilson had the most points in the season, it was Jewel Lloyd who had that record for most points in the
Absolutely.
season. So that's someone who knows how to score the ball, and it's just going to be it's probably going to take a little bit for them to all kind of click and figure out lineups and people coming off the bench and all that, and just the right positions and figuring out against a good team. And look, a lot of it could be that they just played the New York Liberty opening day in
Absolutely.
the morning, their ring day team that could probably repeat, and you just got beat by a better team. But there's a lot of time for them to to figure that out and see how the rest of the year goes.
And a person that I've brought up on this show a handful of times, right? And then you go out and you see what she was able to do on Saturday. Actually, let me scratch this really quick. Somebody tweeted a picture of Becky, and it was like a quote, right? From the post-game presser. And they said, not too many coaches exhibit this level of basketball IQ, like in one of their post-game answers. And I forgot exactly how they ended it, but essentially it made me realize again, and I've had this conversation with Becky, the privilege that it is to cover a coach that kind of goes in depth with you when they don't really have to, right? I say that to say Becky and I have had conversations about people that if I told you guys would be like, okay, like it's not necessarily the stars of the league per se, right? To hear the way that she has always spoken about players like a Natasha Cloud, Becky respects ball. I'm gonna be honest with you. Even in that third quarter, where the Aces were able to kind of actually have their best 10 minutes, put together their best 10 minutes, I watched that third quarter still looking at Natasha Cloud and was like, huh, out of everybody on this floor, she's in playoff mode right now. I don't think it's gonna last the entire regular season, right? Like she'll scale it back. She's a vet, she knows, but she had something to prove in that first game, and it showed. To see her knock down a three, pick up Jackie Folk, and I actually put it in the story. To see her knock down that three, and then pick up Jackie 75 feet or 75% of the court, she stripped her after half court. And the reason why that stood out to me, I remember an interview that Rajon Rondo just did, and he was like, for a guard, that's the equivalent of getting dunked on. Like, we're supposed to be ball handlers. And we know that Jackie is a ball handler, right? But that particular sequence, I was like, yeah, that tells a story. There's a fresh face added to this rivalry, and she made her presence felt.
Yeah, that's definitely when you look at a player like a Natasha Cloud, there's a lot of kind of compare that to like maybe a glue player, right?
Mhm.
That you've got the Liberty, you got your big three, and then who else are you going to lean on to and call on for? And you've got that someone who's an experienced player and they could be a star and thrive in a role, whatever role that may be, starting, coming off the bench. And you kind of look at the Aces, you have your core four, and then it's kind of like who's consistently going to be that player. And you look at Natasha Cloud, someone who's going to play hard, play good defense, score when they need to. And you look at some of the other teams around the league, like especially like Indiana Fever that has two young stars, and having some of those other kind of glue players or other players that are stars too that could step up and fill the role and kind of carry that team to the next level. And you kind of look at the Aces, and especially with like Tiffany Hayes not there, and Leah Clark not there, like who's going to be that kind of piece when it's Asia dominating, and maybe Jackie or Jewel or Chelsea, and
Mhm.
that those three or a combination of those three are a little bit off. Who's going to be that kind of player that kind of steps up for them?
And in game one, it was Dana Evans. Dana Evans goes out, 10 points in her Aces debut, knocks down a couple of big threes, ran the offense, right? I like the two-man action between her and Jackie. I'm about to watch that a lot. I think that was really, really interesting. To see both of those guards kind of be able to be attacking guards, but be able to also knock down a three. I'm interested, like I said before, just to kind of see where that goes all season long. If I recall correctly, this is the first time that this team is 0-1 since 2021. I thought that was interesting because if I were, obviously I covered this team, I was sitting back and I was like, is this back-to-back years? Or at least 2 and 3. And I went back and was looking and I was like, so I'm tripping. They won the season opener like 4 straight years. It goes back to when they lost to Seattle opening. And actually, it was back-to-back years that they lost openers. They lost to Chicago. Following year, I believe they lost to Seattle. But the Aces are 0-1 for the first time in 4 years. And now they're back in action tomorrow against Connecticut. By the way, you just mentioned Indiana. And I'm tired of having conversations with people about Indiana. And people are like, well, they got this person. They got this person. They kept Kelsey. Cool. Say DeWanna Bonner's name.
Right.
And the fact that we don't say DeWanna Bonner's name means that team, I know that there are some people that's like, well, Caitlin, I mean, well, people don't really like, well, I don't know if anybody really wanted to go around. Well, I don't really know if you say whatever you want, make whatever argument you want. I think that's going to be a Final Four team. That might be a Final 2 team. And I think the biggest adjustment is DeWanna. I think when you just said it, that team that's literally flooded with talent, but is led obviously by their 2 youngest stars. When stuff gets thick, I think everybody's going to get a ball to DeWanna and move.
Right.
I don't know how the hell we got here.
Right. Well, thinking about, players like kind of like a Natasha Cloud with something to prove, DeWanna Bonner after, the Connecticut Sun kind of blew it all up and
Insane.
And probably just looking at this opportunity, it's like, all right, I could be, I'm going to take on whatever's asked of me with this team. You got your 2 stars and all that and everything there with Indiana. Be that play hard defense. Stick up for your young players when things get a little tough, a little rough and physical, and just kind of be that leader and kind of teach them how to win, how to handle everything, how to go through the playoffs, how to deal with playing the long season and all that. So she could definitely be the difference maker that could get them into the finals and maybe get them a championship.
Indeed. I'm not gonna lie. We talk about so much parity in this league because it's only a 13-team league, right?
Mhm.
Because of that, it can all change so quickly.
Yeah.
And I had one conversation this offseason about Indiana, and they were like, well, I don't really know. I mean, last year, how far were they at? They made it. I was like, it looked the way it looked, but they made it. In a 13-team league, you're telling me that they can't be a top 4 team? And I guess that person started to kind of think, and I was just like, a lot can change in 365 days in this league, for sure. More hoop talk, actually. We're moving over to the NBA. I've been trying to do you guys a justice and a service and a favor by not starting with my Pacers. So I'm trying my best to not wig out right now, but we're going to start with Oklahoma City and Minnesota. So let's do it. I'm going to try to be the adult in the room. Wrong. Not going to be the adult in the room. Give me 2 seconds. Because we have to do one more round of applause. When I tell you why, you're going to say, oh, okay, this makes a little bit more sense. So I'm about to timestamp this because one more round of applause. Happy birthday to Dick Calvert. It is Dick Calvert's birthday. Happy birthday, my guy. Went ahead and texted him today. We were at the game yesterday and he brought it up and I was like, I'm going to mention this on the show. I'm absolutely going to mention this on the show. So happy birthday to DC. Obviously we're talking NBA, the voice of Summer League for so long, the voice of the Rebels for so long. And if you ever wonder if DC is important, when you go to the Thomas and Mack, if you look up, there's a little banner up there that says Voice of the Rebels. And that belongs to my guy. But let's talk a little bit about Oklahoma City and Minnesota. I just had a conversation with somebody recently about NBA finals, just to be honest, just NBA finals and the way they look sometimes, right? And I was just like, when the Raptors were in the finals, just looked weird, right? Like 20, with all due respect, 2015, Cleveland versus Golden State. I looked at my dad and was like, I don't care who's on the teams. Like, it just looks weird. You're not supposed to be here.
Yeah.
Just looks away.
Mhm.
I've never been more excited to see Oklahoma City and Minnesota fight it out to figure out who's going to the NBA final.
Yeah, this might be. I mean, no disrespect to your Pacers or Knicks.
Watch it. All right.
Oh, this might be a little bit. This could be more exciting than the finals potentially, if Oklahoma City is as strong as we say they are. You know, we have this talk about the NBA all the time. Everyone's like, oh, it's media. They only talk about LeBron, or they talk about Steph. They'll talk about these a couple players, and this is kind of for people that watch basketball all the time and follow the NBA. This is like this. All right, this is the moment. SGA and this young Oklahoma City team, Anthony Edwards and Minnesota, like the two of the rising stars, that in this league, two of the best players in this league are gonna have a chance to duke it out essentially for an NBA final spot. And mention teams that just kind of you just never. It's always kind of weird, right? Like I think about in baseball, like the Tampa Bay Rays, like it's always kind of weird when they're like in the make a deep run, even kind of like the Cleveland Guardians in a way. Excuse me, it kind of feels weird when they're in, and these are franchises that don't really have a too much history per se. They've had some star players, they've had some moments. Obviously, Oklahoma City, referring to their time in Oklahoma City, um, 16 or 17 years or so, and and even teams on the East, right? Teams that haven't had a lot of success or don't have that history of all the championships. It's kind of like you get a little, like you said, you get a little, giddy, you get a little excited. It's like, all right, like how's this playoff series going to be remembered? Is someone going to have a big game? Is SGA going to hit, a game-winning shot? Is Anthony Edwards going to turn into Michael Jordan again and just carry Minnesota to the finals, right? Does Tyrese Halliburton have his moment? Does New York and the Garden, do they have that Game 7 electric moment? Like this is kind of a big moment for all of these teams, but especially in the West of who can kind of take that next step and get to the finals.
And they're all young, relatively speaking, right? The Knicks might be considered the oldest team, which says a lot. I'm excited for the Jaden McDaniels, Jalen Williams matchup. I want to see that one really bad. Anthony Edwards, I've been in the bar a lot recently, and I was at work and I was having a conversation with somebody, and I was like, hey, it's really hard to imagine that Anthony Edwards makes me feel like the Warriors can win a champion, or the Wolves, can win a championship. One of my favorite players growing up, like everybody knows how I feel about Reggie, right? In terms of just like players to watch, if you guys watch this show, you guys know where I'm going. It was Kevin Garnett. At no point did I think Kevin Garnett was winning a championship in Minnesota. Not even a little bit. I look at Anthony Edwards play sometime and I go, I don't know. Denver just won a little bit ago. So there's one other aspect I'm looking at with this. So let's just say that Minnesota stalls out in this particular round. Oklahoma City moves on. The Thunder win the championship. That's a ring for Shea, right? Cool. Last year, Boston won. The year before that, Denver won. Jokic isn't from here either, right? Cool. Year before that, Golden State won. Year before that, Giannis won. Giannis isn't from here, right? Cool. 2020, the Lakers won. 2019, The Raptors got their first title. Where am I going with this? I said this a couple of years ago, and I actually told Ben Golliver of the Washington Post, everybody's trying to figure out who the next face of the league is. I've said for the last couple of years, I don't think it's a face at all. I think it's a collection of flags. And I think that becomes the face of the league in theory, right? Just since 2019, Canada has won their first NBA championship. And every other year, a non-American is like the star of the winning team. If Shea was to win this year, was to win MVP, his team was to go ahead and go to the finals. Let's just say they don't even win the finals. I'm just saying it's a little bit more validity being added to that claim. Anthony Edwards may be the biggest U.S. star. Luka's still Luka. By the way, Luka in L.A. Luka is still Luka. And then you have the Giannis's, the Jokic's, the Sheas. I think we have our answer to who's the next face of the league.
Yeah, I mean that's something everyone's always kind of looking at, and it's to me, I don't think it's a problem that there's not one person that's a face. I think it's good for the league that there's a lot of these stars on these different teams. Now, obviously, we'll see what happens with Giannis and Milwaukee if he wants to go somewhere else. But you have Jokic in Denver, not one of the traditional powers or teams with a lot of history. You got Oklahoma City. You've got Anthony Edwards in Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that the league and people watching should kind of champion or get excited about. It's like, all right, there's all these teams, all these different teams, and each of these different teams has their own star, their all-star MVP candidate, right? And it should be kind of looked at as like, all right, who when we get into these playoff series, when there's a new contender or something, who's going to be the guy that kind of gets the team that year, and it should be kind of looked at as a good thing that there are. Well, to me, I should look like it's a good thing that there's a lot more parity, and it's a little more that a team with a great player can get hot and figure it out and make a run and win a championship.
Now, here comes my turn.
Mm-hmm.
This is the fun part, right? Can we just give it up for basketball? I just feel like basketball is in a good spot whenever the Knicks and the Pacers play in the postseason.
Yeah.
Life is good. I have two feelings, and they're just gut feelings. I will preface them by saying this. I haven't felt this good about an Indiana chance at a championship since PG's last year in Indy. And before that, it was when Tayshaun blocked Reggie. Every other year, I've been very honest with myself. I kind of know where this is going. This year, there is a part of me that feels like Indiana can legitimately do it. So back to the two feelings that I have. The first feeling is on Wednesday, game 1, Madison Square Garden. I think Indiana gets their doors kicked in. Just a gut feeling I have. I could be completely wrong. Other feeling that I have, I feel like it goes 7, and I feel like the Knicks get it. It burns me up to admit that right now. Every part of me looks at Jalen Brunson, and every playoff run, somebody just feels special. I feel like he's not done having special moments yet.
No, and that's what another one of these guys that's he's been in the league for a little bit now, but guys that are like the rising stars, and he's the he's the face of the New York Knicks, right? And I bet he's going to look at this as like his chance to get New York to the finals and be the guy, and kind of wanting that get back after Indiana won in the series last year. And I mean, it's going to be kind of the combating battles of style, right? Indiana wants to, run and get a lot of plays and get a lot of scoring, and um, New York wants to be a little bit more physical and all that with some of their bigs. And
Mhm.
you kind of always see it in sports. We might see it in different sports too. What happens when the team that gets fast paced and wants to score a lot? What happens when the shots aren't going? When the offense isn't going? How does that impact the other end of the floor? How does
Yeah.
that impact everything else that give advantage to New York? And if they could just keep up with the pace and not let it get wildly out of hand, I mean, they're going to be obviously they'll be in every game, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that New York Mecca crowd with every celebrity
Oh
in the
man.
world is it's probably gonna be an environment that arena hasn't had in a long time.
So we got to get Reggie out to a game. That's first of all. We got to get Reggie out to a game.
It's on TNT.
I was about to say Reggie has to call a game.
The series is on TNT. He's gonna probably be calling it.
I can't wait to see just these when they come back from commercial and they were playing these clips from just legendary
Yeah.
Pacer Nick series. Oh my gosh. They showed Larry Johnson's 3 the other
Yeah.
night.
Uh-huh.
I was at work, I almost threw up. I was like, I don't know what's happening right now. Like that should bother me.
Mhm.
But then I looked up at the UNLV jersey on the wall and I was like, I'm conflicted. My head is spinning. Here's the thing about Indiana. Remember Seattle's Super Bowl run with Russ? The winning Super Bowl winning run with Russ?
Yeah.
Immediately after the game, when they caught him on the field, they were talking about obviously whatever the initial question was, talking about the season, how improbable it was, right? Russ said that they started the season by saying, "Why not us?" And I sat back and I said, "That's really interesting." Like, I believe that they sat back and was like, "Well, nobody's thinking about us anyway, so why not us?" And then it just keeps progressing, right? Miles Turner posted it. My mom's putting puke emojis in the comments. Watch your mouth about my Pacers. Where are your Lakers? Sorry, Alex. That was a random little diversion. My fault. But Miles Turner posted it after the Cleveland series, and I thought it was really, really interesting. He posted all of ESPN's predictions. About 12 people, 13 people, something like that. Not a single soul picked the Pacers. Everybody picked the series would go at least 6, but nobody picked the Pacers. And I feel like that's where Indiana is. And Indiana has always been. I've always said Indiana, growing up as a Pacer fan, Indiana is never bad enough to get a lottery pick. But Indiana is never good enough to where you really feel like you have a shot to win it all. The way that this team has taken the "you guys respect us just enough" approach and mentality has allowed this team to bring their lunch pail to work every single day. Where I just have to call a spade a spade. That 5-game series with Cleveland, to me, feels more than a 5-game series because you had to claw out of 3 20-point holes. You got 2 wins, but you fell behind 20 points in 3 of those 5 games in a series that you won in 5. I don't think you can do that with New York.
No, especially you mentioned that not feeling like a 5-game series, just that mental toll of like, man, we're down. We gotta go. We gotta play extra extra hard, right? And you mentioned New York, team that wants to be kind of more physical and all that. That's going to feel like even more of a workload of trying to get that back, get out of a hole. If your offense isn't going, it's going to be it's just going to be you know a long day. But on the other end, that feeling of kind of being not totally respected, or you know, the thing about Tyrese Halliburton and that anonymous poll, excuse me, called him, most overrated player. That's that could be something a team just kind of rallies around, and that just a part of their identity is like, hey, we know it's a 48-minute game, it's 4 quarters. We didn't have the best first quarter or best first half, but we still got time to prove it, and you just kind of can't count us out until it's over.
And just in hearing you say that, it reminded me of something that I said last year, right? And I forgot what the preseason prediction was last year. And I remember telling Dave McMenamin of ESPN when we called him on the show, I said, after all that hoopla in the beginning of the year about whether this team was going to make it, this team was going to make it, I said, offer everybody to bet all their money that the NBA Finals was going to take them on a trip from Indianapolis to Minneapolis. That's what you planned for, right, Dave? And he kind of laughed. I was just a year off, possibly. Part of me just wants the NBA world to have to focus on Indiana and Minnesota. What happens then? We just saw Denver win a championship a couple years ago. And again, I keep bringing that up because I was one of those people that was like, oh, well, Jimmy's going to get his, right? I watched the entire playoff run and watched Denver look like that team. Watched Miami have to gut their way through it, and still was like, it's Denver. And then they did it. I remember watching Milwaukee and Phoenix and was like, if I had to pick, it's Phoenix, right? I know Giannis is the best player. Boy, was I wrong. I just think that these small market teams, they're understanding that their window to win is once we get you. And again, I just mentioned what Indiana kind of goes through, right? Kind of being in that mid tier for the longest. They understood it. That point guard in Sacramento. Let's go grab him. I say it all the time. That Victor Oladipo deal, Vic wasn't a Pacer originally. Vic wasn't a Pacer at his second stop in the league. These teams are starting to realize, we got to go get one. Shea, most people may forget, I covered Shea his only summer league here. That man was a Clipper. A lot of people forget that. So I just think these small market teams are starting to catch on a little bit. It's not going to help if you keep feeding teams like the Lakers, Luka. But anyway, let's talk about it, Alex, man. You've been a very, very busy man. I tried to get you guys. So I'm going to let you guys behind the curtain real quick. Shh. You ready? Did you laugh at myself?
I thought it was good. Now
I thought so.
I appreciate it.
It was a shower curtain, kind of, but it was like, shh. Imagine you went to my house, you pull back the shower curtain, and it's just like math equations on the wall. I'm just like trying to figure out life. In all seriousness, I tried to get this man on the show May 5th. That was 2 weeks ago. It's 2 weeks.
Don't talk to me about May 5th.
That was 2 weeks. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, The text back essentially says, hey, I'm doing XYZ, right? But he said, May 19th, I think I'm good to go. I said, cool. Let me be the one to tell you, I've watched what you've done since. Full transparency. I seen that you were on that campus up north. I made this face. And I have completely blurred out everything. So let me know, brother. Fill me in. What is going on in your world? I know you kind of just said it a little bit ago. You have a whole lot to kind of get into in terms of high school sports, specifically high school baseball. Let's get to it.
Yeah, I mean, these last 2 weeks are the busiest weeks of the year because we've got 8 spring sports, and they cram all the playoffs and regions and state tournaments in these last 2 weeks. It's kind of compared to like winter. There's only boys and girls basketball, flag football, bowling. That's 5 sports, and then you've got the fall, which has 9 sports, but it kind of gets spread out over a month and a half or so. So it's not like everything kind of everything builds up with golf, cross country, soccer, volleyball, then football. Well, here it's like 2 weeks of just everything. There's always something going on, and even like last Monday, I was like, all right, it's the first day of the 5A boys golf state tournament, and I got to get my boys volleyball state championship game preview going, right? And just so much going on. And this last week, I went up north to that school up north.
I don't even like their shade of blue. Like, let's be honest. Some of their football uniforms, I'll be like, I can't like it. I can't like it. I can't like it.
It's a dark blue, and the gray kind of makes it a little depressing.
A little bit, a little. What's the word? A little eerie feeling.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie though. I do like their Wolfpack statue at their football stadium.
Okay.
Not gonna hold you.
I haven't checked that out yet.
Oh, you have to do it.
Okay. I'll do that in was it 2027 baseball state tournament. But yeah,
Back in
Reno was hosting the 5A baseball and softball state tournaments for 5A, the top class in high school sports, and had 2 great games up there in softball. The Palo Verde Panthers, they finished a perfect season, first known recorded perfect season in Nevada high school sports history for a state champion. Bishop Gorman did it in 2021, but there was no state tournament in a shortened COVID impacted season. So shout out to Palo Verde, and shout out to Carter Eckel, who's the sports editor. He was helping us out cover that because things were going on at the same time, and there's like train tracks in between the softball and baseball stadium. You can't walk. It's not like how UNLV where it's like kind of in the same parking lots and you can just walk back and forth. So shout out to Carter for helping us cover that, and the Reno Gazette photographer Jason Bean for getting photos for that day. But then we had a wild baseball state final, basic in Reno High. It started raining. We had a lightning delay for like 40 minutes because there was lightning in the area, and it ended up with basic winning in extra innings on a walk-off wild pitch. Just kind of the craziest ending. A day after a walk-off bases loaded walk in a state semifinal, they get this wild pitch and they win the state championship, and just crazy. This team's been in a lot of close games. They've been in a lot of they've been down. They were down in 2 of their games in the state tournament. They were in one of the region semifinals 2 weeks ago in the region tournament. They were down and they got a walk-off home run, and in the region championship game they lost the first game and it went to an if game, and just this team's got a got a unique story, right? They missed the playoffs last year because they had an eligible player and they had to forfeit all their league games basically, and they did miss the playoffs. They had a coaching change. There was a coaching kind of controversy last year where their coach got removed, and Gino Di Maria, shout out to Gino, he's the head coach. He used to coach at Gorman. He still teaches at Gorman, and he was an assistant the last couple of years on basic, and now he's the head guy, and they got a lot of talent, and that's probably like that's been my favorite team to cover this year. Basic baseball. They got a lot of personalities and characters, and it's a fun time watching basic play because is how Coach G Maria said the kids never believe they're out of it. Like they can flip a switch and get hot and get rolling, and it's really fun to watch. They got a bunch of guys. They got I think at least 6 Division I baseball commits. It's crazy that just what they were able to accomplish this year, and just a lot of wild, crazy games they were in, and they got the state championship and on a walk off wild pitch. So it seems like kind of just a
improbable. That was the word we used earlier.
Yeah, it seems like kind of a fitting end. It's like, oh, they just took advantage of this wacky moment and just they won the game.
So I have 2 ideas that came, or two things that came to mind, right? Shout out to Westchester High School because shout out to Chris Jacobs specifically. I remember being at a state championship game or a city title game, and our high school city title games were at Dodger Stadium. And Dodger Stadium, 9 a.m, Saturday morning. Like I was lit, like life was great for me, right? I'm sitting down, I'm doing my notes or whatever. Chris was our shortstop. Chris hit a homer to left, and we were like, okay, all right. Game comes up, or he comes up later on. And if you guys know about California high school baseball, if you're up 10 before the 5th inning, the game is called. Is that the same out here?
Yep.
I haven't covered high school basketball out here. I think the level I started at was UNLV. I started at college. He comes up, 2 runners on. We're up 7-1 or something like that, right? Or 8-1 or something like that. He hits another one. When he makes contact with this one, he kind of stands in the batter's box and everybody looks. And we were like, he just walked it off in Dodger Stadium. When he gets to third base, they hit him with the Gatorade. Now, here's the problem. We were technically like D2. There was still a Division I game after that. They played in mud.
Oof.
They banned us from Dodger Stadium.
No way.
It was like no more city title games here. You guys don't know how to. There was a game at 11 and they played in slush. We didn't care.
From
whole third base line, whole 90 feet, just mud.
From all the Gatorade, water.
Hey man, sorry. We won our championship. Our day is over. Second thing, I knew about the walk-off wild pitch because of the picture that you posted, right? With your article. And if I'm just calling a spade, I don't know what you do personally with your articles and clippings and things like that. If you even make them, if you even turn them into clippings. When I was at UNLV writing for the paper, I believe when I got the managing editor position, I took all my sports articles and I cut them out. And I was like, what do I want to do with them? I worked at Lakeshore. I was like, Somebody was like, if you got those newspaper clippings, you should come and laminate them. All right, why not? I laminated them, right? I just have them stacked up. They're in my room now. Obviously, I've moved. They're in my room now. I ran across them recently. And I was just going through and I was just like, damn, we did cover this. Damn, we did cover this. Damn, we did do a podcast about this. And I'm just going through, right? You should do a scrapbook, brother. Almost like a photo album.
Yeah.
But you should do it with the stuff that you've written. You'll go back and be like, damn, I did cover a rodeo. Damn, we did have Barry Odom. Damn, we did have TJ Osborne. You'll go back and look and be like, I did some pretty dope stuff.
Yeah, I should definitely do that. I really liked the cover, the Sunday paper. It had Palo Verde. It was perfection, persistence, perfection for Palo Verde, persistence for Basic for all they did. I know my parents they keep everything. So we've got all that. I'll look into that. I know I have.
They should. Shout out to
Yeah.
them. That's a big deal.
And also, one of my mom's friends at work, she said that her dad, or they've known for a long time, gone back a long way. That he keeps my articles and stuff like that. So shout out to them too, right? And
I'm super happy that you told me.
The first thing that came to my mind was like, okay, I have my press passes and I want to do something like that. Like you mentioned, I think you mentioned Jose V, and he's got like the kind of like the table or something like that.
Fire table.
Yeah.
Like there was a design on that table, the marble design. I like his handheld design way better. Like,
yeah,
he smoked that.
Yeah, that's something I want to do too, is kind of make like a poster or something and just kind of put everything in there, right? Or something like that. But that could be a summer project for me, going through things and just kind of laminating things or putting things together and making a scrapbook or something.
Now that you say that, my grandfather used to make shadow boxes, right? I feel like we could find something unique to do with that. By the way, I've had this conversation before, and I don't mind saying it publicly because we're eventually gonna do it, and I think everybody should. I had this conversation with the team maybe 2 years ago. And then obviously everybody's talking about this time capsule that Nickelodeon is going to be opening in 2042, I think it is. I want to do something like a time capsule. So again, there's a plethora of things that you can do with all the things that you have. Same thing that I was thinking about with the Aces, with all the playoff tiles. I got pretty much all of those with the exception of maybe one. I gotta do something with them. Like they're just in a bag right now. I don't know what I'm gonna do with them, right? So I think we have some pretty cool things that we could do with them. Anything else for the trip to Reno? Why you'll never be back? Why you wore red the entire week? What's up? Talk to me.
I had my UNLV hat in my backpack.
Smart man.
I didn't wear it.
You got to carry that around like a cross. Like you got to carry it around like you're in enemy territory. You got to be like, I don't know where you guys. Yeah, it's too much blue around me.
Yeah, but got to give another shout out to L.E. Basco, our photographer. First day he was bouncing between baseball and softball, getting a little bit of everything.
That's the train tracks.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he had the rental car, so he was driving. He drove.
Still,
right? Exactly. He was.
That's commitment.
He was driving, and then on Saturday we had the rain, and it was cold. It was windy. It was. For a second, people were like, "Is it snowing right now? Is there snow out here?" So, yeah, shout out to him for doing all that and bouncing around, and everything. And then, yeah, yesterday on my trip back, it was like kind of like. At one point my flight was gonna leave at like 6:50 p.m.
Okay,
because that was like the cheapest flight that for leaving. Also, adulting tip. I was like looking at like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was looking at prices like $240. Okay, that's not too bad. I'll do that tomorrow. I go tomorrow and it goes up to like 315 and I'm like, damn,
fast.
I gotta do that. But anyway, yeah, it was, I don't know, whatever was going on in Salt Lake City or Denver. The plane got like stopped, and originally one of the first updates I was like, oh, it's gonna take off at 12:30 in the morning. I was like damn, I just went through security at the Reno airport. I'm like, I'm gonna be stuck at the Reno airport for 6 extra hours.
Sounds like hell.
Or so. I mean, it was. I was just kind of bored, so I was just kind of walking around, and they had like a big Nevada Wolf Pack thing with like photos and stuff like that. There is a UNLV ad in there.
Is it really?
Yeah, there's like a be a rebel, and it's got like UNLV kids graduating.
They should just have a picture of the cannon.
That's what they should do. Just to troll. I mean, we saw what the it was Parkway Tavern in Edmonton, right? They bought the ad in Edmonton, just making fun of the Oilers after that one game. But of course, we know
How did that go?
Oh yeah, but yeah, just walking around and things like like people say it all the time. It's like, oh, Vegas is 24 hours, and it's like a culture shock when things close, and it's like it was like 8 o'clock and the McDonald's is closing up. It's the all the coffee places are closed by 6 o'clock, and the pizza place is closed at like 7:30. So fortunately, we were able.
I don't even have a pizza crave until after 8.
Right?
Why are we closing at 7?
Literally, that's one of the things. Is like I've finished my story in my hotel room. It's like 8:30. It's like, oh, the pizza place in here that might look good, but everything was closing up, and I think the only thing left open was the Subway by the time we boarded. Even the convenience stores with the water and the sodas and the snacks we're closing up at 8 o'clock, and I'm like, man, like what are we doing here?
So I'm gonna keep this rivalry alive. I'll get to some positive things about UNR in a second, but before I do that, this is why I double down in saying that. You ever been to Palm Springs?
No.
Yes, you have. Reno is Palm Springs with lights. It's literally what it is. And if you've ever been to Palm Springs, you know that I'm not telling you a lie right now. It is literally Palm Springs with neon lights. Every time I go to Reno, I look around and I'll be like, you want to be Vegas so bad. Like, just be Reno. Have you ever been to their Circus out there?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So there we go. Nothing else needs to be said. I walked from that circus to that mobile, and you know where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I told my dad in that walk, I said, I don't think they want me. Like, if I'm just being honest with you, I don't think I should go back to my room, to be honest. I mean, I'm gonna go get this bottle real quick, but I should probably be in my room. But in all seriousness, right? Like I said, I'm gonna keep this rivalry alive as we enter hour 2 of the Talk That Talk radio show. I'm Terrell, that's Alex. But no, in all seriousness, you've been to UNR for a football game, haven't you?
No, I haven't.
Not yet. So you have to go the next time we go to Reno. Usually it's the end of the year in most cases anyway. November football at UNR. Mwah. Chef's kiss. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah.
Bro. It's freezing up there.
Yeah.
Their school, once snow hits the buildings, it looks like an MTV movie. Like it looks like a high school in there. It's ridiculous. Every time I see their like land, like their backdrop almost, I look at it and I be like, the Wolfpack idea, right? Obviously, if you know me just personally, I just think wolves are just dope in general. I have a husky. Like it is what it is, right? I think there are several elements to love about UNR. I just can't do it. That's just the way that goes. I just can't be the one to do it. Sorry, guys. Alex, we're talking baseball for the next 30 minutes, brother, and then we're gonna wrap up with some football. Some football talk. Yeah, let's do it. I have Aviator news for you. The Aviators still have not lost the series, and we are pushing 19 days through May. This team has still not lost the series. Most recently, it took 4 of 6 games at home, against El Paso. A lot of different things that I kind of wanted to address in terms of this particular series. But one of the first things I wanted to address is 20 runs. So first of all, I still don't know if I'm going to do it, but I got to do some more number punching now. That 20-run game kind of threw me off. So, Alex, we've covered the Aviators together, and we've had conversations about the way that this ballpark is. When you get a chance, run through the Aviator schedule, right? The results more. It's not the schedule per se. And just look at all the home games and look at some of the scores. Alex, you and I have had to sit through 14-2 games, 17-1 games. I'm so distorted. I didn't went to the wrong seat.
Random camera.
I didn't went to the wrong seat. We didn't see 17-1 games, 20-1 game, whatever we've seen, right? Alex, this season I'm watching games and I'm like 6-3, 7-2, 4-1. And then the day that I'm like kind of gearing up for this story, like, oh, we got a lack of runs at the ballpark, this damn team erupts for 20. I'm sitting at home like, so what do I do with my story now? So needless to say, I never dropped the story. I'm just sitting on the story now. I just have it. Now I got to go do more number punching to figure out if that 20 runs might have just made up for a full week of runs. So we're going to have to go back and check that. But the ultimate difference for this group this year, Fran talked about it early in the season. I think first weekend we talked, he said we got arms now. Yeah. Like, no disrespect to the guys that we had before, but we have a group of quality arms right now that just feels different. And he was like, it's not just the starters, or there have been years where just the back end of the bullpen. It's through it. And he was like, the reason why is because we're getting balance in all the other levels. Like he said, Double A is looking good. The big league team is starting to figure it out. We're going to get consistency. I said, interesting. Consistency. And then JT Ginn goes out, balls out. Now he's an A. And what happened to consistency, right? And then Gunnar Hoagland comes down, balls out. Now he's an A. So it's still, at least it was still a question for me, maybe a month into the season. And then you watch different guys come in. You watch a Joey Estes, right? You watch a Jack Cushion, right? Who, by the way, started the year 4-0. Jason Alexander was just claimed by the Houston Astros off waivers. Jason Alexander had 2 games where I even wrote kind of in the story. I mean, he left in line for the win. So whatever happened after the fact is what happened after the fact. I don't want to say issue, but one of the glaring things that I kind of paid attention to, out of all of these big names, if the A's had to say that there was a disappointment so far, not the player itself, but just the performance so far. Mason Barnett, right? One of the top prospects in this athletic organization, has really good stuff. This year, he's been beat up a little bit. He just has. This past series, I believe his outing, he went 1 2/3, gave up 5 runs on 3 hits. I think he had 5 walks, if I recall correctly. And this is literally just me shooting off the cuff. Just from that standpoint, in a weird way, this is the conversation I'm ready to have with Fran. In a weird way, I wonder if that kind of gives you a little bit more reinforcement. Feeling like we're powered by these arms. And if I had Fran name, hey, give me 2 or 3 arms that's probably going to carry this group, Mason Barnett would have been one of them. He's not carrying this group right now. And this starting group still looks pretty, what's the word I want to use? This team looks fluid. That's the word I want to use. Carlos Duran came in on Sunday. Am I lying? Was it Saturday? Sunday. And he walks 2 batters back to back, and I believe 3 of his first 5. And me and DC kind of look at each other, and we was like, we haven't really seen this year. It's been sporadic. And again, as a person, obviously somebody like you who's covered the team, we've been at games that have pushed 4 hours, that have been 4 hours. We've had games as low as maybe 2:20. That's a testament to these arms, right? I mentioned it during the story that we had about the win streak that the Aviators were on. At the time, their ERA was leading the league. Their ERA is still leading the league. I don't care what you do. I tell Fran all the time, yes, you have to score runs to win. This team, compared to other teams in past years, doesn't have the power. Doesn't run as well. Hasn't mattered. Matter of fact, let me give you guys this update really quick because we were on standing watch. So I don't know if this is a good thing or not, but minor league baseball breaking the season into 2 halves has made playoff runs or playoff races in May insane. Like, I don't know why we're watching. I don't know why we're standings watching, why we're giving Oklahoma City updates during Aviator games, but that's the spot that we're at, right? But as of right now, the Aviators are still first place in all of the Pacific Coast League. As a matter of fact, Reno has actually gone in the opposite direction, most recently losing 7 straight. So they are now tied with Sacramento, 9 games back of the Aviators in the West. Now, overall, the Oklahoma City Comets are 2 games behind. Alex, you ready for this number? So everybody, I don't know about everybody else, but following that road series in Reno, they split 6. Reno's 3 games back, if I recall correctly. No, I lied. They're 5 games back. But they're also 5 games back with Sugarland. So it's the Aviators right here. It's Oklahoma City 2 games back. Then a little bit further back, you got Reno and Sugarland. 5 games apiece. Sugarland has won 10 straight games. Now, the Space Cowboys are 3 games back of the Aviators and a game behind the Comets. So it looked like Las Vegas and Oklahoma City was going to run away from everybody. Then Reno was like, hey, excuse me. Now Sugar's was like, hey, excuse me. Sacramento's looking at Reno like, hey, we're tied. Bro, this makes no sense. It looked like the Aviators was going to run away with this league to start the year. Dog, the next 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks in this PCL, talk to me in July. That's when I'll have an answer for you.
Boy, sounds like you know what they say about the PCL. You know what they say. You know what they say about the PCL. You just never know what can happen.
And if you don't trust us, listen to Russ Langer speak about it. And just the history of the PCL, you kind of just talked about it. It's already wild to begin with. I have predictions and I don't want to say them. I have several predictions. What are the chances we get 2 ties at the end of both halves?
I mean, it's probably pretty likely. Or
We're gonna play a lot of extra baseball this year, aren't we?
that'd be fun.
I'm down.
Yeah.
I never said I never said I
Yeah,
didn't
right.
want it. I just said we're gonna play extra baseball. Is all I'm saying. I feel like we might be playing baseball late into September, maybe early October. We'll see. Do I have other baseball? Oh, I have one other thing to tell you really quick. Since we're talking the Aviators and where they stand in terms of the standings, it's only fitting that their next 12 games will be played against Sugarland and Oklahoma City, right?
Right.
You can't make this stuff up. First time all season long that the Aviators have back-to-back off days. That will be today and tomorrow. Their travel day is today, I believe it is, if I recall correct. I think every Monday. Their travel day should be today, so it's technically an off day. But Wednesday, they will. I wish you guys could have seen Alex's hands over in the corner, like technically it's an off day. But no, man, they're headed to Texas. They're headed to Texas to take on Sugarland. 6 games in Texas, then 3 games at home against Oklahoma City, then 3 games on the road against Oklahoma City. 12 games from now. You know what, Matt Neverett, shout out to Matt. Matt Neverett said it at the end of Sunday's broadcast. He said 500 baseball over the next 12 games for the Aviators isn't the worst. In the back of my mind, I said if the Aviators have played the way that they've played all season long, if the Aviators have less than 9 wins, 8 wins in this particular 12-game stretch, I think this team is actually disappointed. That's the energy I've gotten from this group. Not to sound like that, if this is going to sound kind of bad, but they split with Round Rock. That's their other split. Nobody's talking about Round Rock right now. Let them split with Oklahoma City. Let them lose a series to Sugarland. Fran Reardon would be an angry Buffalo man, in my opinion. You know what's funny? When you find out where certain people are from, it could do one of 2 things. It could like make you judge them in a certain way, or it could make everything that they say, like it could bring it into perspective for you. The moment that I found out that Fran was from Buffalo, I said it makes sense. I said it all makes sense, man. Fran is my guy.
You ever see him bust through a plastic table?
Not yet.
No, yeah.
You think maybe I should bring the plastic table? I'm gonna offer Fran a bit. I hope the Aviators win a division because he's gonna get to the locker room. Mad plastic tables. Mad plastic tables everywhere. Fran, pick one. Pick one. I'm gonna give him a little mini ladder too. Like you got 4 steps right here if you want a little aerial dive if you want to. I do have athletic news. It's not good athletic news, but it is athletic news nonetheless. I told you guys for about a month, the Aviators are in California. The Athletics are in California. Now, I don't know if you looked at their schedule recently. It's the freakiest schedule in the world. So they played the Yankees in Sacramento. They went to Chavez Ravine to play the Dodgers. I think they hosted Anaheim. I just said Anaheim. That shows you how old I am. They hosted Anaheim. I wish they would go back. They hosted Anaheim. They went to San Francisco, and I think they have another home series coming up. It's this one against the Angels coming up. That's like a month straight of not leaving California. So shout out to the Athletics for that. But they had their first real hiccup by being swept by the Giants. Some people, if you are Athletic fans, you may be sitting at home and you may watch this 3-game series and you may say, hey, or you may not have watched this 3-game series. And you may look back and say, hey, 3 straight losses for this group, 4 straight if you include that 19-point outing that they gave up to 19-run outing that they gave up to the Dodgers. 3 straight losses to this San Francisco team. 2 of those losses was by 1 run, though. One of those 1-run losses came in extra innings. Similar to what I've said about the Aviators last year, I said this team is going to be interesting to watch until the final week of both halves of the season for the simple fact of you don't know them. You don't know what you're going to get. That same Aviator team I was explaining to you guys and describing to you guys is pretty much that big league team now. I covered Lawrence Butler. I covered Tyler Soderstrom. I covered Shea Langoliers. I covered Seth Brown. I covered half of these pitchers. I covered Mason Miller. I covered JT Ginn. I covered everybody with the exception of maybe Brent Rooker. I actually went through the roster. Oh, and new signees. So Luis Severino I haven't covered, but like everybody else I pretty much covered. This group, they don't remember the conversation we had about the UNLV Lady Rebels 3 seasons ago about them being too young to not know.
Yeah.
I don't know I'm supposed to be scared playing Stanford. I don't know we're not supposed to beat Boise. I don't know we're not supposed to compete with Wyoming. I don't know that I'm not supposed to yell in McKenna Hofschild's face. I don't know these things. I'm just here playing. That's the feel that I get from this athletic team. Nobody expects us to win. We're probably not. So let's go ruin somebody else's season. And I think that's what this team is going to do this year. So even with this 3-game sweep, unfortunately, I look at it a little bit differently only because I've covered this team for the last 4 seasons. And this 3-game sweep is very different from other 3-game sweep that we've seen from this team. As of right now, and it also helps that you're in a really stinky division. Let's just call it what it is. I didn't think this division would suck this bad. And honestly, to the point to where I'm convinced this division still doesn't suck. I'm convinced that after All-Star break, 3 of these teams are going to skyrocket to the top. And everybody else would be left behind. As of now, the entire division is separated by 6 games. The A's are 5 games back of the top spot. They are 22-25 on the year. They're 4th in the AL West. And up next, I got to figure out something to do. Because I have this tick clearly where every time I talk about the A's and, they may be bad, they may be the Angels are always under them. And my weird tick is that I can't let it go. I can't let it go. Even when I say I'm going to let it go, I can't let it go. As bad as you guys want to claim that the A's are, the Angels are worse. And maybe that's exactly who the A's want to see because the A's are welcoming in the Angels for a 4-game series, which actually starts tonight. Alex, by the time we finish this show, we got about 2 hours to prep for that game. I don't know if you want to go home and watch the Angels and Athletics, but you never know.
Yeah, give me something to do on a slow Monday night. Sure. Yeah.
You might want to go play cards. You might want to go visit a racetrack. Have you seen Final Destination? I can give you some other things to do if you need to go.
Okay.
Try to find.
I could use that. Yeah.
You could probably go have a snake bite since you haven't had that yet.
Uh-huh.
We can label some stuff. You ready for my frustrating take of the day?
Yeah.
So I asked Mike Davis, head coach Mike Davis, general manager Mike Davis of the Vegas Nighthawks, if there was a way for his team to not get into these tightly contested games with the Arizona Rattlers, obviously at some point in the game a little earlier, doing something to try to pull away a little bit earlier, or how does it work? Or do you guys just simply have to figure out ways to close out games against them? Vegas has no real problem closing out games, except when Arizona's on the other sideline. And I asked him that question, and I'm going to be honest. I get the feel that Mike respects me, right? The answer from Mike felt like this is the obvious answer, right? He said, we have no choice. We have to figure out how to pull these games out. And I'll tell you why I asked that question in a minute. He said, we have to figure out ways to pull this game out. He said, if you think about it, it's the exact same thing as the playoff matchup, right? In the back of my mind, I was like, I didn't want to say it. But you had a 2-score lead, 4th quarter, and somehow the game ends up the other way. So here's the reason why I asked this question, right? One of the reasons why I asked it. I'm talking with Mike, and I'm like, so just before halftime, where's my notes? I wasn't going to do it, Alex, but damn it. Where's my notes? Since we're here. And I have my NFL draft notebooks. Where are we at? There we go. So Vegas is up 2 scores heading into the 4th quarter. So there we go. So Vegas as a whole, right? Vegas goes down 7-0. There's kind of this image, this visual I want to paint for you. Vegas goes down 7-0. They score, they missed the extra point. So you feel like you're always trailing, right? Down 7-6, down 14-6, down 14-13. Huh. And then you get 2 stops at the goal line, and you get a fumble and a fumble recovery. Now, I had a conversation with Mike Davis after one of these previous games last week, or no, 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I had the conversation with him a couple of weeks ago about a defensive performance, about wasting it. He said we absolutely wasted it. The defense gave us chances. We wasted it. Last week, they have 2 fumble recovery opportunities, and they missed both of them. This particular game, they get their fumble recoveries. So they're getting the chances, right? Here's why I bring that up. You get that fumble recovery, and then you have your field goal blocked on the ensuing drive. Long story a little less long. You finally get your first lead with about 5 minutes to go in the first half. When you get your first lead, Alex, don't laugh. I thought my IFL network glitched out for a second. Vegas scores. They're lining up for the kick. I watched the kick maybe go to the 10-yard line, and I thought I lost my mind. I hit the little 15-second backward thing twice. Boom, boom. I had to miss something. It was an onside kick attempt. Your defense just stopped them twice. Why wouldn't you trust your defense? So Arizona gets the ball after finally trailing, and this time they're trailing 19-14. Arizona scores. Obviously, right? They get the ball in the red zone. Arizona scores. Vegas does come back and score. So I said this is one of 2 things. I asked Mike Davis, I said, when you kick that onside kick, I said, here's the one of 2 things that's going through my mind. Either you didn't want Arizona to drain the clock and get the score, or you were trying to catch them off guard because you guys first got that first lead, and you were looking to double up because you guys also got the ball coming out of halftime. He said it was actually the first one. He said we knew if we kicked it deep, even if they didn't score, they were going to try to limit the time. We were trying to give ourselves another scoring opportunity. So if they were going to score, they're going to score within the first 45 seconds. We still get another 3 minutes or so to score, which they did. And he's absolutely right. All I keep going back to is if I'm that defense, you don't trust us to make a play? We've made plays in games where you guys didn't capitalize on them. You can't trust us to make a play after we just made back-to-back ones? Again, just something to note. Not saying it was the wrong decision by no means, because like I said, I even said it's one of these 2 things, so it makes sense. But if I'm the defense, I also feel like we could have went out there and got these guys. And also, one of those stops was a 4-and-out. So you're getting stops in multiple ways. You had 2 first quarter interceptions from James Caesar a game ago. I don't know, man. I feel like football decisions are always like super heavy, right? They loom large. I feel like they loom even larger in a fast-paced game like the IFL. Yeah. You make one false move, and I feel like that the next 12 minutes was because of that one decision. Really quick, just a shout out to the Vegas Nighthawks social media team. They have this little campaign going to Q in terms of Jerome Johnson being number 2 and his favorite receiver, Quentin Randolph. The 2 to Q connection. I like it. I like what you guys are doing with that. So shout out to you guys for that. It ultimately wasn't enough. I did ask Mike Davis about it after the game, and he was like, yo, anytime you can get a receiver and a quarterback on the same page, like it's poetry in motion. And then he turned right back into a football coach. But you also can't zero in on 4. Like you just can't do it. Like we have other playmakers out here. There's other guys that can go up there and get a ball for you if you need to. really quick. Again, we've done this show and we're actually about to wrap it up. I got some tip-ins to get to, but we have history covering several sports, even a fight game, just different stuff in general. Everyone has their nuances. Everyone has their one that you kind of have to view it a certain way. We're talking about the A's, right? Possibly still having something to fight for when it's all said and done because of the division, and they're sitting at 22-25. An NBA team sitting at 22-25, we're looking like, okay, we probably know where you are. Like, we know where you're going to end up, Chicago Bulls. We know where you're going to probably end up, right? Makes sense. That game switched so drastically for Vegas. I didn't write it in my notes. I hope I didn't. No, but you've seen my notes before, and you're one of the few people in the city that's seen my notes. Usually I write the team's record coming in at the top right, and I'll draw a little arrow. And whatever the outcome is, I'll update the record. Vegas was 4-2 coming in. This is a game for first place. In the game of football, Alex, I think I figured out which record, like, flip could be the worst. Vegas entered this game 4-2. I'm about 92 seconds from writing 5-2. And I had to write 4-3. Alex, I felt completely different than if I would have felt when I wrote 5-2. And I know it's a one-game difference. Yeah. But in the game of football, 5-2 looks completely different from 4-3.
Right. You got that. Because then the part of, because you mentioned how fast-paced the IFL game is, 4-3, you lose again, you're 4-4 is like, okay, man, this is
halfway through the year.
Exactly. Halfway through the year, you're 500, and it's like, all right, we're not where we expect to be. We're not playing to our full potential, or we're in a spot where other teams could catch you and pass you, and there's not that. You mentioned 5-2 looks good. There's that little bit of a cushion in a sense of like, okay, we have like an off game or someone just goes, it's hot, and nothing goes our way. And it's like, okay, still 5-3 now. It's like, all right, well, we could bounce back and get going. Now it's 4-4. It's like the pressure's on. If we lose again, we're below 500, and then we win again. It's like, all right, we survived. Now we're above 500, and you're kind of like living on that edge. You're right. It's just kind of crazy. Just the one game and just the mental feel of a team. Just how one game we're in the middle of the season, like, all right, well, still have half the season or more so to go, but it's just kind of like those are the games you look to with you make or miss the playoffs, or you get a high seed for a home game, or you have to go on the road. And it's like, man, that one game could have been the difference.
And the funny thing is, and I even tweeted it, I don't know if you saw it, but I tweeted every Vegas Arizona Indoor Football League game is must-see TV. The problem is I don't feel like Vegas ever gets the break. Vegas never gets the break against Arizona, it feels like. And then you kind of just talked about why 5-2 and 4-3 looks completely different. Here's why. You're following this up with actually, matter of fact, and I want to be sure, this is the last one. You're following it up with a rubber match against San Diego. You're facing Arizona again. You're facing Northern Arizona, and then you are facing Bay Area. So just to give you an idea of what I don't want to say encountering, but what we're dealing with to begin with, the Nighthawks at 4-3 are third in the West. Obviously, they sit behind Arizona at 6-1, but you also sit behind Bay Area now at 5-2. 2 of the next 4 games are against those 2 teams. So like you just said, let's just say you lose those 2 games. You're 6-5. So going back to what you said about how a game can also affect just like being a number 1 seed, having a home field advantage, things of that nature. I feel like that's what might happen with this particular one. Vegas might have to go on the road in the postseason, and it may be because of an Arizona game, of a Bay Area game, of a slip up against Northern Arizona, something like that. I do think this team, similar to last year, kind of kicks it up at the end and actually has an extra push to kind of make the postseason. That's my belief. The start of this year has been kind of up and down for this group, right? But it is important to highlight before that San Diego game on Sunday, May 25th, which kickoff is set for 6 p.m. for. Prior to this, let's try not to overreact a little bit, right? They had won 3 straight games coming out of the bye week. So Mike Davis, I had the conversation with him about what his group was able to do during the bye week and how you can't allow, you're not going to go undefeated, right? Even after a bye week, usually. How you kind of regroup after that and kind of understand that this may be one that you guys let get away, but at the same time, too, understanding, hey, this is obviously an opportunity to get better. And he said he knows the group, and he said that he understands that they're chomping at the bit to kind of get out there and get that one back. So I'm excited to see what that San Diego game looks like on Sunday. I have my dad's tip in, I have my mom's tip in, and then we can probably get out of here unless you have something else. Let's see. So for my mom, I actually like 2 of these, but just in terms of some of the conversations I've had, really the last 2 days, I think this tip in is a really good one for a couple of different ways. Hopefully this one helps you too, Alex. If you are serious about change, you have to go through uncomfortable situations. Stop trying to dodge the process. It's the only way to grow. I thought that was a good one. I think it's something that we can all obviously use, right? I want to end the show with that one to kind of switch it up a little bit. But my dad, first of all, I don't know if you can see this from where you are. Let me see. Can you see what I have right here?
Picture of a monster truck.
So my dad went to Monster Jam at SoFi Stadium this past weekend. Alex, somebody just like recently reminded me, hey, you're less than a month removed from going to WrestleMania. That's cool. That's amazing. I have been jealous ever since I've seen this picture. My dad went to Monster Jam. That's actually what his tip in is on. Matter of fact, let's get to that first before I even get to any stories. My dad said, had the chance to go to Monster Jam this weekend. He said, thank you to my mom. He said, I haven't been to a Monster, and this is better because he's mentioning the stories that I'm going to mention. So this is cool. I haven't been to a monster truck event since taking the boys when they were younger. Sure enough. Even though I don't go often, just the mention of Gravedigger's name gives me a rush. So, needless to say, couldn't do this event without a pit pass. For those who don't know, a pit pass allows you to see all the monster trucks up close, meet and take pics, and get autographs with the drivers for about 4 hours before the show. I felt like a kid again. I only needed one autograph, and that was from Adam Anderson. Yep, you guessed it, the driver of Gravedigger. I made sure to tell him that I followed him and been a fan of him since the late 80s, early 90s when his dad, Dennis Anderson, was the original driver. I also had to let him know that this event, Monster Jam and Monster Truck Racing, would not be what it is today if it wasn't for Anderson, his family, and Digger. He shook my hand and gave me a heartfelt, I really appreciate that. Each and every driver went out their way to put on the best show possible, from rollovers, crashes into the walls, and even one truck that caught on fire for a brief moment, but the track crew was very fast and immediately raced to the scene of the crash. Really quick, Alex, I'm gonna jump in for a quick second. Have you covered the monster truck or the monster
I have
truck
not.
event out here?
No, I have not.
So the next time it's out here, are we going?
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna lie, him doing this made me say, so I don't go to Sandboy when it's out here. So I don't go to the Thomas and Mack when it's out here. Why? I seen what they did at SoFi. We're going, brother. We have to.
We have to go.
My dad said Tyler Blood is now my favorite. He said Tyler Blood is now my favorite female driver. She drives a pink and white unicorn that blows out pink and white glitter named Sparkle Smash. That's kind of hilarious, actually. Don't let the pretty face fool you. She did more than hold her own against the boys. Even after the first event when she had car trouble, the show They showed the crew working on her truck backstage. Even with her truck not being at full strength, she came out for the freestyle event and did her thing. After a backflip off the ramp and her rear left tire just exploded, you would think she was nearly done. Nope. She revved it up and finished her run, which included 3 more jumps at top speed, all of which she did on 3 wheels. In conclusion, it was a great show. First of all, he didn't tell me half of that. I just realized, like, we had a whole conversation about this and you didn't say that. Where am I at? In conclusion, it was a great show. And one thing I will always say about Digger is either he is going to win the event in spectacular style or he is going to eat it. And he ate it. Halfway through his freestyle, he flipped on one of the ramps and landed on his side. We have all seen this before where he revs up and straightened himself up on those 2 wheels, but it wasn't meant to be on this night. Hell of a show, Monster Jam. I will be back. I don't know about you, Alex, but that shit kind of read like a review to me. I keep telling this man to come right and he won't do it. That's it. All you need to do is include the quotes from Tyler and why am I blanking on Anderson's name? Anderson's son's name, Dennis. I feel like you just missed some quotes from them. That's pretty much a story, Dad. You pretty much did it. What you got for me, Alex?
August 1st through 3rd at the Thomas and Mack Center, Monster Jam Freestyle Mania.
Don't mind me, guys. I'm just looking into the Aces schedule. That's all I need. As soon as I see the Aces schedule, we'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Okay, this is live planning.
Just the Aces, not.
Well, you can look up UNLV football. I don't think we have anything that early.
No, I was just checking if you need to go the Aviators or the Nighthawks or anything.
Aviators, y'all need me? Y'all don't need me that bad. All right, so the Aces have back-to-back games on that Saturday and that Sunday.
Okay.
So we have to figure this out. You said August 1st through the 3rd? It
says August 1st through the 3rd, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Do they have times?
Oh, let me try to buy.
Because if you have times really quick, I'll tell you this: the Aces play at 12 on Saturday and they play at 3 on Sunday. I could be at both.
12 on Saturday.
This is really interesting.
There's the start time on. What does this say? Okay, start time on Saturday is 1 p.m. Start time on Sunday is 1 p.m. And then there's something Friday night at 7 p.m.
Right now, at the very least, we're in there for Friday. At the very least, we're in there for Friday. I will have to figure everything else out. One of these games might have to get covered from the house. My dad said we got to go. He said get the pit pass too. I think, honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. Let me tell this story real quick. My dad had a green. Talk to me.
Oh, there's a night session on Saturday, so it's 1 p.m. and 7 p.m.
Oh, say less. So at least Friday, Saturday, we're in there, dog.
Yeah.
Deal?
Yeah.
All right, you guys heard it here first.
Yeah.
We're going. I'm time stamping this. Where's this at? 137, Alex. I'm letting you know.
Let me make my reminder.
I'm letting you know. I don't get to be a fan often. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Oh man. My dad had a green Expedition growing up, right? And I never understood it. He always referred to his truck as Digger. And I was like, as a kid, I was like, what is that? And he was like, Gravedigger. You never seen Gravedigger? And he showed me Monster Jam, right? He showed me Digger. And I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And then he kind of said it in his tip in. He took me and my brother when we were younger. I was like, okay, this is pretty dope. Sickest story that I have. Christmas morning, dog, right? And that Christmas is funny too, because that year, I'm sure you know, but my birthday's in November. And my parents have never been one of those to be like, well, I'm getting you this and it's going to stretch over to Christmas. Like my parents will split gifts if they have to, right? That particular year, if I recall correctly, I got a GameCube for my birthday. Got wrestling, got basketball, got baseball, got football. I went out and got baseball after. I got everything I need, right? Got Tony Hawk. I'm chilling. My GameCube is stacked. Christmas time rolls around, so I'm like, damn, like, what are they gonna do? Because now I got this game. So they just gonna give me a bunch, like a lot more games. Shout out to my parents we had a year where everybody almost got like board games. And like Christmas night, we just went around and played board games. It was fire, right? That's what we did that year. This particular time around, they wanted to show me what other games looked like from different generations. And I was like, okay, this is different. My parents have bought me a ColecoVision before. My parents have bought me the joystick before. That particular year, they brought me why can't I think of the name? The surging game where you can't touch the sides. Operation.
Yeah.
Operation. They bought me Operation. And I was like, okay, this is dope. I've only seen it on TV. Let's play. Long story, a little less long, dog. I'm getting games like that, right? So I'm like, hey, this is pretty cool. Finally, this last thing. What the hell is that? I open it up. Alex, it's a remote control Gravedigger truck that's about this big, bro. When I tell you my parents got sick of that damn Gravedigger, bro, we had stairs in the house.
Oh, yeah.
I'm starting at the top of the stairs. Do. Olivia is like, who's running in my house? Nobody. That's Gravedigger. Gravedigger's going down the stairs. Gravedigger's running down your banister right now. My mom looked at my dad on several occasions. Why did you buy him that? By far one of my best Christmas. Dog, I forgot I had a GameCube.
Yeah.
I was walking around the house, but first of all, that Gravedigger had it. First of all, as fire of a truck that it was, if I recall correctly, it had purple buttons on top, and it was like 6 buttons. So you could have like the tire burnout sound. You had the engine revving sound. Dog, there was one button you pushed, flames went up on the side of the Gravedigger. I lost my mind, bro. I was like 9 years old at the house. Like, you guys have no idea this is the greatest invention ever. So to see my dad actually go out and be standing next to the Gravedigger truck, that is truthfully insane. I'm just sitting there thinking, I was 04. We were in Gardena. I was 10. I was 10 years old. I was in, jeez Louise. Yeah, that was 5th grade. Jeez. Shout out to my parents, man. Shout out to my parents for that. Shout out to my mom for sending my dad to Monster Jam and continuing to just kind of elaborate on something that I've said before and I've said in the past. It's okay to cater to your inner child. And that's why Alex and I kind of you guys just saw us make a plan live on air, because usually when I see, again, I'm so happy that you're back because I just told DC this story the other day. Alex and I are sitting next to each other inside the Cox Pavilion. Now he knows the story. Inside the Cox Pavilion, we're both like this, both recording. Florida hits that game winner. Alex and I go, and we keep recording. I told my dad, you don't understand how bad I felt. And he was like, why? Because UNLV lost. Because I couldn't react. I can't be a fan. I know I went to UNLV.
Yeah.
That shot was cold. I should be able to react. That's why I go to Summer League. That's why I go to the IFL Championship in Vegas isn't in it. I get to be a fan for once. It's no problem with catering to your inner child, guys. Like, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. To see my dad be as excited as he was for Monster Jam made me even more excited. But yeah, man, there's a lot of serious things in this world. And to be completely honest, Alex, we don't cover them. Yeah. Plain and simple, guys. Until next time, gang. Wait a minute.
What?
Happy birthday to Dick Calvert once again, man.
Oh.
Happy birthday to DC. I might let this one rock just so we can hear the intro one more time. Happy birthday, Dick Calvert. Until next time, gang. Keep on talking.